Life is full of chaos. It appears challenges are constantly pulling us from every corner. How about getting inspired to find time to use your instincts while navigating exhaustion, rediscovering and balancing work and life? That is what many of us find hard to do, balancing work and life. Welcome to the Minute Mastery Podcast, a conversational productivity and time management podcast where busy authors and entrepreneurs are inspired to create time for what truly matters. I'm your host, Ngozi Edema, a time management coach, writer, and entrepreneur. Here you are encouraged to turn your minutes into milestones and to create at least 1 hour a day to work on your goals without feeling overwhelmed. So joining us is a powerhouse in the world of healthcare, Jennifer Johnston. Jennifer is a wife, a mother of 2, a registered nurse with over 16 years experience in emergency rooms across northern and southern Ontario. She has witnessed it all, the heartbreak, the resilience, and the immense pressure that comes with being on the front lines, especially during a global pandemic. Her debut book, Nursing Intuition: How to Trust Your Guts, Save Your Sanity, and Survive Your Career, is more than just a book. It's a rallying cry. She describes it. You are welcome to the Minute Mastery Podcast, Jennifer.
Oh my God. Ngozi, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming. I am looking forward to this conversation. You are a wife, you are a mother, you are a registered nurse, you are a writer. Where do you find the time to do all of this?
Not well. it's always a balancing act, right? Like knowing that, if you pick up one thing, it's going to take away time from another. But you wonder, you have to make sure that it's worth it, right? So writing for me originally just started as an excuse to completely get rid of all of my stories to try and make sense of what I was doing in the middle of the pandemic when I was not at my best. I was completely burnt out. I had no idea what I was doing, if I was going to live. It was crazy. And so for me, writing was a comfort in that moment. And I really hadn't written much for joy before that time. It had been, since high school, I think was the last time I wrote for myself. And to finally come back to it and go back into my own stories, it ended up being exceedingly cathartic. Just being able to go back to those moments and deal with some emotions that I had packed away and had put it in the back of my mind and thought, oh, I'm fine. It's that's what we do. And you just kind of brush it off. But, with writing the stories came some emotional freedom. And with that, I found a little bit of time freedom. Starting to put myself first, starting to focus on sleep, starting to really focus on my schedule and what I wanted. And so it led me down this lovely journey of entrepreneurship and, I'm still working, part-time to full-time hours in the ER. I work strictly night shift. So, making time at work, sometimes that works too. Maybe I'm just, I have an idea, I just jot it down. Maybe I'm on my break and I'm, instead of taking a nap, I figure, what, I'm going to write or I'm going to do something for my business. You make the most out of those singular moments. Am I an expert at it? Absolutely not. Am I a go-to person? No, I'm just somebody trying to do what makes me happy and trying to figure out the timing for it. And so, you figure out eventually, hopefully, that your time is worthwhile. And so what do you want to spend it on? Is me working night shift allowing me to spend my days with my kids? Yep. Is night shift allowing me to squeeze in a little bit of extra time on my business? Absolutely. It's all a matter of what are you going to do with your time? You know, I know what my hourly wage is, and so I can put an hourly value on my hour. So when it comes to, you know, setting up a website or doing something that I'm not great at, you know, would it be worth my time to spend 10, 20, 40 hours potentially trying to figure out a website and have it still not be great? Or do I decide that, no, I'm going to spend that money on an expert, have them do it, have support potentially another local woman who's looking to start her business, and kind of pass it on. Yeah, it's about figuring out your time and what it's worth to you.
Oh, thank you. I like the fact that you said you have work night shifts
Yeah.
permanently now, and you do that because of your family. You
Mhm.
have more time with your children because I have friends who are nurses as well who did the same thing. They work weekends and nights only so that they can have the day to spend with their children, which is it's a big sacrifice. And it also allows you time. You describe your writing like it's like a comforting mechanism for you to run away from all the chaos of life, which I really admire you for. You instead of there sitting down there feeling sorry for yourself, you're doing something worthwhile, writing and bringing yourself out through writing and finding comfort and relaxation from that, because I also feel relaxed when I write. But the chaos in the emergency room, what do you wish the public knew about ER? Because for them to really understand you, they have to understand what you do.
I describe working in the ER as being in an abusive relationship with the public. So when COVID happened and everybody was very thankful, nobody was coming in unless they absolutely had to, it was a complete game changer where it's like, this is not my normal. My normal is people who probably should have seen their family doctor or a walk-in clinic or an urgent care instead of coming to the emergency and waiting hours and hours and hours and then getting very frustrated and upset. You know, the one thing I wish the public knew was I am 10 times more likely as an ER nurse to be assaulted than police and corrections combined. People talk about violence in healthcare, but if you're not living it, it's really hard to imagine. It's just like anything else. Like if I'm not in your shoes, how could I possibly know what you deal with on a daily basis? But with what's just recently happened in, I believe it was Pennsylvania, what recently happened in Florida, you know, it's with the two, these, you know, both were kind of like hostage situations. One had a gun involved. One was just a patient who was mentally ill, was on a Baker's Act, I believe is what you guys call it, where, you know, you're being held to be assessed by a psychiatrist because you're at risk to yourself or others. And so this patient was on a Baker's Act waiting to be seen by psychiatry and unfortunately just flipped the switch and completely beat the crap out of the one nurse. She's likely to lose both of her eyes because he's beaten her so badly. We all thought that she had passed after what had gone on, but thankfully she's still fighting. And then the other nurse in, I believe it was Pennsylvania, it was a hostage situation with a police officer, I think 1 or 2 or 3 nurses and a doctor, and the police officer was shot and killed in that scenario. And, you know, that, I don't even believe that was the ER. I believe that was the floors. So it's getting to a fever pitch where, you know, how do we come to terms with, you know, this level of violence that we're potentially seeing? Now I'm in Canada, so, you know, thankfully we're not seeing it to that level. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen. But, you know, we're not seeing the gun violence as much as the US. We're not seeing, just to that level of concern and violence. But, you know, do I have people threatening to take me out? sure, it's happened once or twice. People come in and sometimes it's family members, they're scared, they're upset, they don't know what's going on, they're freaking out, and they just see me at triage, seeing other people and seeing other people and seeing other people. And so they think that I'm not aware of them or their scenario. And in reality, I can't do anything, but this is my job, is to just be at this booth and to make sure that I see everybody who comes in, so that if anybody's having a true emergency, we treat them immediately. But it can be, I'm sure it can feel like we're ignoring you. And so when people come in and they're really upset, it's sometimes hard to kind of calm them down to a point where you can talk to them rationally. Because when people get kicked into that fight or flight mode, some people's fight mode is really, really a doozy. And, so, you have to deal with that. And we have security, but they're not allowed to put hands on. It's not like they've got a taser or a baton or a firearm or anything like that. Like, it's usually people who could be Walmart greeters who come into security at our facility. So it's always interesting. But, just because we're sitting there doesn't mean we're not A, aware of what's going on with you or your loved one, and B, like, I can't do anything. I can do some things without a physician's order, but there are a lot of things I can't do until a physician sees you. And a physician seeing you is going to take 4 to 6 to 8 hours sometimes, depending on what's going on with the department. So, long answer. I wish.
Oh, yeah, thank you for sharing that with us, because we don't know. The other day, I had to be in the emergency room for like 8 hours for just a minor procedure. Although I was sent there by my family doctor, so I didn't just walk in there.
No, and that's another problem, is that family physicians are also overwhelmed. We don't have enough of them, so an easy answer is, if they're concerned and they can't see you that day, their answer is to send you into the emergency room. Unfortunately.
Thank you. I now understand why you would turn to something like writing, which is kind of calming. To get yourself out of all that chaos, and please keep yourself safe anytime you go to work. I don't know if that's a great advice, because I don't know how you can keep yourself safe when someone is angry and charging at you for doing your job. So it's sad that people attack people who are actually taking care of them. It's not a good place to be. So what does your typical writing schedule looks like? Because you're a mom. You come back home, it's not as if you're coming home to put your feet up and just relax. You still have work at home to do. So what does it look like?
Typically, I will go through fits and spurts. Sometimes I get an idea and I really, really run with it. Other times, now it's into the editing process, and I hate the editing process, so I kind of drag my heels, and it's kind of like, well, do I want to do this right now? And I make excuses just like anybody else. But I've found that, if I get up at 5 a.m, because again, the shift work messes me up so much that sometimes I'll wake up 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I sit there for a minute going like, okay, am I going to get up or am I not? And I figure, what, I'll just get up. I'll spend an hour up. I'll do whatever I need to do that my brain wants to do. And then I'll go back to bed. And I find that my best writing has been in the dark, either very, very early in the morning or really late at night. It's less the late at night now, because most of my writing originally started when we didn't have daycare. And my kids were 4 and 5 when the pandemic started. So the only time you could get to actually think was early in the morning, and just, having the house be super dark and quiet. And, it's hard not to realize how much dinging you hear at work without realizing that you're so used to it that you just don't even hear it anymore. They call it alarm fatigue. And so when I come home and I can sit on my couch, I can put my feet up, I can put my laptop on my lap, and I can just take a minute to not think, that's usually when I get my best writing done. I've also I voice dictate a lot. I find that my brain runs quite quickly and my keys can't keep up to my brain. So I will voice dictate. And there are some learning curves with voice dictation when it comes to writing, but it makes you feel very powerful to just say it out loud, that what you're thinking, and to then be able to write very quickly. So all of a sudden you've got 500, 700, 1,000 words in what seems like moments because you're just talking. And so it's a preferred method of mine. I'm still getting used to it. It takes more in the editing process to kind of, especially if there's any dialogue where I don't know how to dictate like the quotation, like quotation start, quotation end, new paragraph, getting all that kind of sorted out. It takes a little bit more in the editing process, but just to get it out, it's a great tool for just getting it out.
Well, I like the fact that you mentioned that you get inspiration. I will call it early in the morning or late at night, but you don't do much of the late night one again. I remember not so long ago when I read the 5 a.m. Club book. I
Yes.
think it's
Oh, that book was
science
good.
backed. I think it's science backed that
Yep.
people who wake up early, they have the advantage of getting things done, number one, and they are more inspired when they wake up. Waking up early is a great thing. I know, yes, because my husband also worked in AR. I know night shift sometimes messes the brain up, which you may be struggling with. But I'm just looking at the positive part of it that, well, you have the ability of waking up 5 a.m., which many people will not be able to get up at 5 a.m., but you have that advantage. You can wake up
Yeah.
at 5 a.m. and you can tap into the benefits of early waking up. And I think it's science backed that waking up early kind of boosts productivity and helps with creativity as well.
Yeah.
So, what advice will you give anyone struggling to find time to write or start a new project or business? Because we've all been there.
Yeah.
Most times we start something new. As we go older, we see, oh, this is not working for me. Let me reroute and do something else. So if someone is listening to this podcast and is planning to start a new project, what is your advice, especially when time is the issue?
Yeah. They keep saying you have to make time, but really making time is taking away from something else. So just knowing that that's the baseline, it gives you a little bit of a better understanding. Do I want to invest in sleep tonight, or do I want to try and wake up early? Sometimes I have the intention of waking up early. I set my alarm. I want to do it. And my body is saying, no, I don't think we're going to get up this morning. So I don't. I sleep in and that's it. But, on those mornings when I can get up early, it is just so beneficial to just listen to myself without anything else going on. The TV's off. I'm trying to put away my phone. My phone is a huge distraction. So I'm really trying. I just got rid of a bunch of games because I noticed that I was losing a lot of time just goofing off and killing time with games. So I thought, you know what, we can put those to the side. I also, really liked to walk on my treadmill downstairs. So I set up kind of a makeshift desk on top of my treadmill. And same thing, I would just walk and slow walk because again, you don't want to hurt yourself, but walking also seemed to really free up me mentally because I'm a little ADHD, so I've got a lot going on at all times. So having something that took away one layer of that extra thinking was fantastic. Same with if I put on like classical music in the background, very light, but it's enough to pull my brain one way so that, the distraction's pulled this way, but I can now focus forward and I can really kind of get down like, oh, this is what I want to do. Let's try that. if you get stuck, ChatGPT is great. It is great for a lot of things. And if you just need a prompt to maybe just kind of get you started, absolutely. Put in your last paragraph and say, like, how could I move forward from this? How could I take the next step and advance my story from here? And am I saying copy and paste? Absolutely not. That's not what I use ChatGPT for. ChatGPT is, for me, a way to kind of come at things from a different angle and just get inspired. So it may give you 3 different ways to go, and you say, well, those all suck. Like, what about this? And then all of a sudden, well, that, okay, like, it distracts you enough that your own idea comes through and you can go, oh, well, that's what I wanted to do. I want my character to go this way, and kind of, you know what, well, if they went that way, what do I think the next move would be? And oh, okay, you kind of just put yourself into it. Another great thing is just, if you're hitting a writing block, just binge watch TV, but make sure it's something that has absolutely nothing to do with what you're writing about. If you're writing a murder mystery, watch a comedy. If you're doing a memoir, do something that reminds you of something that you used to watch when you were like 10, 12, 14. And it's something about, watching and having those emotions come back up again. Same with listening to music, from when you were 12, 14, like those were great years where you were really, the hormones were running, everything was changing. And for some reason, it really lets you, kind of catch yourself and go, oh yeah, I remember that feeling. And it'll lead you down another tangent. It's very hard to get out of your head when, you think you've got a timeline, you've got pressure. Some of us work really well under pressure. I work really well under pressure, but other people, it just stresses them out. So take the pressure off. The Pomodoro method, where it's, work for 10 minutes, I think relax for 10 or 20 or 30, whatever you want to do. And the trick is it gets you just going long enough, because anybody could do anything for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
If you think that there's an end. But maybe you get into a groove where all of a sudden you're like, oh, now I can move forward and oh, I've got this idea now, and you latch onto it and you go, and you end up being much more productive than you meant to be. It's the same with cleaning or tasks or anything like that. Sometimes you get into a mood and you ride the mood and you go, and just be gentle with yourself when the mood kind of fades a bit, because that's just hormones and the days and the weather and all these other different factors.
Thank you. And I like the fact that you brought out a useful tool in time management, the Pomodoro
Yes.
technique. It's always good to have a timer. Set your timer, work for 10 to 20 minutes, give yourself 5 minutes break or 10 minutes break, and go back again and do. And that requires badging things and making sure that things are done. And you cannot do everything.
No.
You mentioned for you to be able to put stuff in, you have to take out something. Yeah. But it depends on priorities. Which one of these things is more important to me? So I'll do this instead of this, and I'll give my best shots to this. Thank you so much. So you're right. Your book is coming out soon.
I finally made it. So December 15th, it finally came out.
Oh, it's coming. Oh, it's out already. Okay.
So it's out already. So that was from last year. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Again.
Okay. I missed that. Yeah.
No. Sorry. That was my mistake. I've got to update that lovely little bio. But again, another example of, I thought I was going to make October. Life didn't go that way. My editing took longer than normal. I didn't realize I had to typeset I paid somebody to typeset for me. Didn't even know what a typesetter was. Fun fact, it's the people who design the interior of your book so that it looks really nice. So it kind of stands out and you can kind of give it different flavors and that kind of thing. But that was another cost and another timeline that I didn't see coming. Getting up on Amazon and getting it organized, and it's a learning curve. And
It is.
so
It is.
you just learn as you go. And it's finally out. It's done. There's my baby right there. So
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well done.
yeah. So
Well
I'm like,
done.
she's out, she's done. It's one of those things where now it's
Good.
like, okay, so on to the next book.
Good. So we'll put the links in this episode's show notes.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for coming. How can people connect with you? Where are you online?
So you can find me on TikTok and Instagram at ernurse.jen, JENN. You can find me on LinkedIn, Jennifer Johnston, BSCNRN. I'm probably the most active on LinkedIn. You can also find me at my website, www.rxforgrowth.com. And yeah, I actually just put up a writing schedule as a freebie for publishing, for self-publishing, broken down step by step. This is what you got to do. This is how much time to expect. And really hoping it'll help people manage. It does take a lot of time to do publishing.
It does. It does.
So just to set expectations so that you're not upset.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So we'll put the links. The links to all of this will be in this episode's show notes. Thank you for tuning in to the Minute Mastery podcast, and thank you, Jennifer, for coming to the Minute Mastery podcast.
Thank you
If
so
you
much for
found
having
this
me.
episode helpful, please share it with someone who could use more time in their day. If Jennifer can do it, you can do it. And remember to subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, remember, you are in control of your time, and you've got this.